Hello friends, we have another Sunday here, and with Sunday comes also a regular review of a new book, a new black grimoire about Goetia or about magic. And you have voted during the weekend or week, and it was quite close. That's why I'm just making the video relatively late, because I was not sure about the winner. There were three books, and the two of them were almost like with the same result, but we have a winner. The winner is the True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent, and I think that although all three books are really nice, and maybe I will return back, or in some other session I will try to explain also something about these older books, but the True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent is an excellent choice by you, and it's practically a follow-up on another video or another grimoire that I have been reviewing I think 2 weeks ago, and it was the Grimoirum Verum by Joseph H. Peterson. So if you haven't seen that video, maybe you should see it first and then come to this one, because this is a great follow-up to it. Why? Because the True Grimoire speaks about the same book, but don't worry, the Grimoirum Verum and True Grimoire in English, although they are the same book, they contain a lot of different views and a lot of information that I have found in the version of Jake Stratton Kent that was not in Joseph H. Peterson's review. Why I am not showing the True Grimoire? Because I have only digital copy, so I will try to show it, maybe just like some pictures from it later, but I will use also the True Grimoire from this one. This True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent is a relatively new book. It was released in 2020 by Scarlet Publishing, famous publishing house. They really produce quality occult literature, and I already heard by some adept colleagues that this book is really good, because it's a new refresher on the Grimoirum Verum from the view of the modern practitioner. But it's even more than that. I believe, and it was also mentioned by Mr. Stratton Kent, that he was closely working working a little bit also with Joseph H. Peterson. The difference is that in Joseph H. Peterson's version, they are like translations of all known versions of Verum. So we know that Verum was originally in several publications in French language, later on also in the Italian, and as I was explaining, there are differences in sigils. Some sigils are missing in this version, some sigils were added, even some chapters are added in the Italian versions. So it's so complex book that it requires more study, and this is exactly what Jake Stratton Kent is doing. He is not translating directly Verum, although a lot of texts are there, but he is trying to make something like compilation or to unite this book also from the view of other books, other grimoires, because we know that Verum is one of the oldest grimoires coming from the 16th century. And there are several other grimoires that were either taking information from Grimoirum Verum or were somehow later on developing the information from Grimoirum Verum. So this book, this True Grimoire, goes and tries to define, decode this history of Grimoirum Verum, and maybe there's some also, so like fill in those questions that are missing in the original book. So when you start with the book, there is very important information about the sources that Mr. Stratton Kent was using in his studies. And he practically goes and tries to discover information from all famous occult books. In the first pages, you will find a little bit information about these famous books like Clavicules, Duroi Salomon, Stenographia, Pseudomonarchia Demonum, Grimoire of Pope Honorius, and Book of Saint Cyprian, that are using the information from Verum and also might contain more knowledge. For me, I went practically through all of these books, but he goes further because he tries to find out, for example, sigils that might be in specific grimoire and are missing, put them into his own book. He also later on explains the way of the ritual. So this is not only theoretical book, but also book for you how to practice. If you will be reading Grimoirum Verum, prepare to read really old ancient text from the 16th century. A lot of things might be missing or might be not understood. This is like taking all of the data, all of the information, and tries to explain it, but still keeps the Grimoirum Verum as a main source. Another chapter is called the Art Armadel. This is practically the art of demonolatry, the making of connect with the spirits, how this is done, why it is called like that. Art Armadel, it's like a specific of art of magic, a form of divination of the spirit. It comes from Egyptian word divination, or called like Darb el Mendel. And later on, of course, it was Europeanized and it's called Art Armadel. So the first initial chapters are about how these divinations were done in Egypt, in Greek magical papyri, because also Grimoirum Verum is practically using information from these old sources and old practices of Art Armadel, Gematria, working with magic circles and so on. So all of this making of how to call the spirits. So this information is in the first initial chapters of the book. And then he comes like, tries to explain Grimoirum Verum as it is, but with his commentaries, and this is really understandable from the point of modern readers. So the book continues in 3 parts, similarly as in Grimoirum Verum. The first part speaks about sigils. These sigils are the same as in Grimoirum Verum, but Mr. Stratton Kent is trying to really match this hierarchy, like what is the hierarchy of the demons. If some sigil is missing in one Grimoirum Verum, one publication of Grimoirum Verum, or might be found, for example, in Book of Saint Cyprian or Stenographia, he fills it in. So this is like real true grimoire. If you have read the Grimoirum Verum, you will practically find very similar sigils that are here, but also he tries to explain some other sigils and their meanings. For example, mostly the deputies of the unholy triad of Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. So he goes and shows the sigils of Satanakia, Tarkimach, Flaherty, Sargatanas, and so on. So this is really nice. Also tries to maybe explain the situation about Clownic, that Clownic sigil, this famous spirit, is missing in French version, but in Italian we can find the sigil. So all of this missing information, for example, Musizin, also sigil that is missing in one version, and it can be found here. Sometimes it might be that, for example, some editions of Grimoirum Verum were making these sigils like in not correct form, or something was missing, so he really tries to unify it. The first part is practically about these sigils and conjuration of the spirits, and later on he follows the Grimoirum Verum. The second part is called Of Natural and Supernatural Secrets, as it's called in Grimoirum Verum, and these are practically spells and ritual makings, how to do the divination of the spirit, also this license of depart, so these protective methods that were used by our predecessors, working mostly with the angelic entities to be protected. So he just tries to also show it here, that there are some very interesting divinations from the egg, or how to work with elemental spirits, for example, to see the spirits of the air, how to affect people with love magic and other things, and these classical things like how to make each other invisible, to see the visions from the past and future. So practically the second part is about this, and for the third part is really interesting for us as practitioners. If you are starting with this, I recommend it, because it is the third part is called the key to the working of this magic art. So it is about what you will need for the rituals, for the ceremony, so making magic circles, knives, how to create sacrificial knives, purification of the circle, if you want to go with the ceremonial method. I know that there are like modern methods that we are not using circles and so on, but still this is a form of ceremonial magic, and it is quite interesting. Also, he speaks about how to use lancet inletting of the blood, what type of fumigation should be used, specific invocations during the rituals, mostly related to the angelic entities, but still interesting. And there is a very important part in the third book of this True Grimoire. It's mentioned also in the Grimoirum Verum, but here Jake Stratton Kent really puts his focus on so-called central spirit, or the gate opener to the spirits of Grimoirum Verum. And he speaks about the character, and there is also a grand sigil provided of the great spirit called Sirlin. Sirlin is practically a demon that can be connected with, so he can bring you to another demon to speak with them. So if you do invocation, for example, with some kind of the spirits, and I believe it can be used also for other spirits, not only within Grimoirum Verum, this sigil and the character of Sirlin is provided and explained together with the specific invocation for it. What is this Sirlin? We know that in many traditions of magic you have this central gate opener, gatekeeper. For example, in Voodoo we have Papagede. In ancient Greek we have Hecate, the Lady of the Crossroads. So there is always some central component, some channel opener, and it is practically giving us the key how to work with this book, which was a little bit omitted in the original version, maybe because the information was lost or mistranslated. So the sigil is very interesting, and it can empower your ability to connect with specific spirits that are here. The book continues as in Grimoirum Verum, provides these additional chapters, so-called secrets. Secrets are called Cabalas. Cabala is also a secret. So there is a secret, or the Cabala of the green butterfly. It's a specific chapter, how to work with elemental spirits, with salamanders, sylphas, gnomes, so and also how to connect with additional spirits of this. Later on, that would be probably the end of normal Grimoirum Verum, but Jake Stratton Kent continues with his own commentaries, and he speaks about the nature of the demons, who are the spirits, where we can find, for example, sources from other famous occultists on these topics, Agrippa of Nettesheim, the books of occult philosophy. He really leads you to other sources. Also, he provides his own understandings of this unholy triad of Beelzebub, Lucifer, Astaroth. They are also he thinks about the sources of the name. So what is the name, or what is the origin of, for example, Satanakia, Flaherty, Sargatanas, Nibiros, tries to find out where these names come from. So I had some questions of you about Lucy, future of Occult, for example. All of this information you can find in. And continues with unified hierarchy of Goetic spirits. This is something that I have found also in his later book. Maybe I will review it later. Jake Stratton Kent is also trying to create this hierarchy between the grimoires. That book is called Pandemonium. But also in the True Grimoire, he tries to explain in ways of charts what are the hierarchies and of the spirits. Many of you are of course asking, like, how to practice this, how to really go step by step. I understand that this is very depends on the adept. You will develop your own way how to connect and how to proceed with the rituals, but of course we have to stay in some within some margins, and we have to do some kind of ceremonial magic that is proven to work. So working with planetary days and hours. So all these graphics of the circle of hours also in the Grimoire Verum also here is provided. Spirits of the 7 days, which day, which hour should be maybe connected with specific spirit. Then of course invocation prayers to the elementals, and then he focuses on these on these main spirits, on these leaders of hell. So there is a very nice chapter about Astaroth, Lady of the Crossroads. Maybe you can also watch my video about Astaroth. I found a lot of similarities here and there, but this chapter is really good. And the book practically ends with a discussion about further development of sigils. Sigils are a living thing. As language is changing, so sigils are changing. They are channeled by different practitioners in different ages, and he speaks about the Goetia, how it developed in the New World. We know that from the medieval times, of course, these books later on, America was discovered, and of course there were older civilizations there, but a lot of these explorers brought their magical ritual books with them, and these books, probably mostly this colonization in South America, Central America, were done by Spaniards and Portuguese. And they were using Grimoire of Saint Cyprian, which is practically a form of Goetia magic in Spanish and in Portuguese. They were taking it with them, and later on, these Goetic teachings mixed with the old Proto-American magic, and there was development, and also later on, of course, of the African origins and so on. So he speaks about very interesting magical practice called Quimbanda. Quimbanda is a left-hand path, Goetia teachings that is practiced until today in Brazil. And there is a whole chapter about the creation of the sigils from the view of Quimbanda. I found these techniques really advanced and great. I consider Quimbanda and this Brazilian Goetia school of magic one of the most advanced if we speak about the creation of sigils. And the book continues with this. It shows also sigils that are can be used instead of the older sigils from Grimoire Verum, but these sigils are called Pontos in Brazilian Portuguese. It's called a bridge, and I can only say they are really very powerful. At the end, if you want to go further, there is a rich chapter on the selected bibliography that Mr. Jake Stratton Kent is using. And I can say that this book is a follow-up on Grimoire Verum, Joseph H. Peterson. It can be used also alone, but if you combine it with a serious study, you will get quite serious understanding on Grimoire Verum and other books, grimoires related to this tradition. It will make you not only better in theory, but you can apply it in practical knowledge as well. So I was really content and glad that I have bought this book. I gave 5 stars to Grimoire Verum, this translation by Joseph H. Peterson, and I give again 5 stars to the True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent. Is an excellent book. Friends, I hope you liked the video. Please leave your comments. In case you have questions, just let me know and we can discuss more. And now it's time to show you some other books that I have prepared for you, that you can vote on them, and I will review one of these 3 books in next week. Well, I ended on chapter of about Quimbanda, about this tradition of Brazilian form of Goetia. And why not to continue with the in the flow? So this is a very interesting book. It's called Quimbanda, The Cult of the Red and Black Flame, and it's written by Mr. Danilo Copini. I think this book contains, as you can see, it's quite a tome. It contains so much interesting information on sigil creation, ceremonies, and so on. You see there are a lot of information here and a lot of specific sigils and other things. So if you want, I can speak about Quimbanda as a sister of our Goetic tradition. So that's option number 1. For option number 2, I think that we should remain also in classics, and I have prepared for you another book to choose from. It's called, and it speaks about Canaanite gods, about the origin of the demons, origin of the Canaanite deities. You know, I created a lot of videos about invocation of the spirits. The recent one was, I think, about Moloch. So a lot of information about these ancient deities you can find in this beautiful book by a very famous author. Probably I should not introduce him, you know him already. It's Michael W. Ford, and it's called Dragon of the Two Flames, Demonic Magic and the Gods of Canaan. Again, this is also a grimoire. Again, if you want to know more about Canaanite magic, Assyrian, Sumerian traditions, this is a good book also to review. And the third option will be a little bit different, but nevertheless also interesting. And I am really interested if you want to review it or not. But I consider this book also an interesting choice. It's a contemporary magical grimoire by quite famous occultist, American occultist in modern times, Mr. D.H. Thorne, and his famous book Shadownomicon. Mr. D.H. Thorne in this book is trying to explore a little bit different current of spirits, so-called shadow people. These manifestation of shadow, these psychological things that we might have inside us, but they are also living in the shadows around us. They are not specifically demons, but are connected with this shadow sphere of things. And the book is quite potent grimoire as well. So a little bit more contemporary. Friends, let me know. I will create a poll and I will be waiting for the results. I wish you a great Sunday, and hopefully Speak to you soon. Have a great day.